Good morning. Or should I say great morning? Because today isn't just another day. Today's the day you remember who the hell you really are. You see, there's a giant inside every single one of us. Not someday, not maybe, right now. But most people walk through life asleep. They settle. They shrink. They forget. Not because they're lazy, not because they're broken, but because somewhere along the way, they bought into a lie. The lie that says, you're not enough. You don't have what it takes. Stay small, be realistic, play it safe. Let me tell you something. Safe never changed the world. Realistic never sparked a revolution. And small has never satisfied the soul of a giant. You weren't born to be average. You weren't born to tiptoe through life, hoping to arrive at death safely. You were born to rise, to lead, to set your soul on fire and light the world with your example. But here's the truth. Your life will only change when you decide. Not wish, not hope. Decide. When you draw a line in the sand and say, no more. No more playing small. No more excuses. No more waiting for the perfect moment. You don't need more time, you need more courage. You don't need permission, you need hunger. You don't need motivation, you need to tap into the force that's already inside of you. The unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable giant that's been waiting to be unleashed. Let me ask you a question. What would your life look like if you stopped holding back? What kind of relationships would you build? What kind of energy would you walk into a room with? What kind of legacy would you create? Because you're not here just to exist. You're here to live fully, love deeply, give boldly, and grow endlessly. And growth doesn't come when it's easy. Growth comes when you're uncomfortable, when you're scared and do it anyway, when you fall and rise again. That's where the transformation happens. That's where the giant wakes up. So today, I challenge you. Don't leave here the same. Don't just listen, act. Don't just nod, commit. If there's a dream buried in your heart, dig it up, dust it off, and chase it like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future is not written in your past. Your history is not your destiny. And your current reality is not your final chapter, unless you decide it is. So awaken the giant within. Stand tall. Speak boldly. Live loudly. And never again let fear whisper you into silence. This is your time. This is your moment. Unleash everything. The world is waiting. You were born to rise, not to settle. That truth lives in your bones, even if you've forgotten it. It pulses underneath every moment of doubt, frustration, or hesitation. From the day you took your first breath, there is greatness inside you. Not potential for it, actual greatness. Wired into the deepest parts of who you are. But the world tries to beat it out of you. Slowly. Quiet. It starts with people telling you to be realistic, to calm down, to stop dreaming so big. They tell you to get your head out of the clouds and plant your feet on the ground. They tell you to follow the rules, stay in line, do what's expected. And over time, if you're not careful, you start believing them. You settle, not because you want to, but because settling is easy. It's what everyone else is doing. It's what the system rewards. You play small because small feels safe. Small doesn't attract criticism. Small doesn't risk failure. But here's the lie. Small doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. You think you're avoiding pain, but really you're just trading one kind of pain for another. The pain of regret. The pain of knowing you're capable of more and not doing anything about it. The pain of watching life pass you by while your soul screams for something greater. There's a fire in you that won't go out no matter how long you try to smother it. That fire is the part of you that knows you weren't born to just pay bills and die. You weren't born to simply survive, to keep your head down and your dreams tucked away in a box labeled someday. You were born to lead, to impact, to rise. Rising means more than success. It means living on your own terms. It means breaking free from limitations, especially the ones you've placed on yourself. It means refusing to accept a life that doesn't ignite you. that doesn't stretch you, that doesn't make you feel fully, undeniably alive. Settling isn't just about where you work or how much money you make. It's a mindset. It's that quiet voice that says, this is good enough. But good enough isn't good enough for someone like you, not because you're entitled, not because you need more stuff, but because your soul craves expansion. Your spirit craves challenge. You are wired to evolve, to overcome, to reach higher and go deeper. That's why nothing else will ever satisfy you. Rising means confronting fear. It means facing uncertainty. It means doing the things that scare the hell out of you because you know the cost of staying stuck is even greater. Fear is a compass, not a stop sign. If you feel fear, it means you're close to something meaningful, something worth fighting for. You've got to lean into it, not run from it. Most people avoid fear and call it logic. They think they're being smart by playing it safe, but really, they're just hiding. If you want to rise, you have to get honest with yourself. You have to ask, where have I been settling? Where have I been pretending I'm okay when deep down I know I'm not? The world doesn't need more people who settle. The world needs people who come alive, who dare to live fully, unapologetically, and with purpose. That's not reserved for the lucky or the chosen, it's for the committed. It's for those who decide that comfort will no longer be their God. Those who are willing to feel the fear, face the challenge, and step up anyway. Rising is a decision. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need all the answers. You just need a reason that's bigger than your excuses. You were born to rise. And that means you already have everything you need. The tools, the power, the resilience, the hunger. It's all in there. Life isn't about adding something new. It's about peeling back the layers that have been placed on top of who you really are. Every doubt, every limitation, every story that says you can't. None of it belongs to you. You learned it, which means you can unlearn it. And when you do, when you strip it all away, what's left is power. Not the kind that shouts or dominates, but the kind that moves mountains with quiet conviction. The kind that changes lives. The kind that leads by example, not by force. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need applause. You don't need someone else to validate your worth. You need to remember. Remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Remember the moments when you felt unstoppable. Remember the visions you had before you started shrinking them down to fit other people's expectations. That version of you still exists. It never left. It's just been waiting for you to stop negotiating with your fears, waiting for you to stop asking for a guarantee, waiting for you to reclaim your life. You were born to rise, and the rise starts with a choice to stop living by default, a choice to stop waiting for someday, a choice to stop settling for good when you were built for great, a choice to take back your voice, your time, your power. No one's coming to rescue you, not because you're alone, but because you're not a victim. You are the author. You hold the pen. You can turn the page, rewrite the story, and flip the script. That doesn't mean it will be easy. Rising never is. It means you'll be challenged, you'll be tested, you'll be stretched in ways that scare you, but you'll also be awakened. You'll feel more alive in one day of growth than in a lifetime of comfort. And that's the life you were meant to live. One of meaning, one of fire. One where you wake up every day with a sense of purpose, knowing you're becoming the version of you that was always meant to lead, serve, and inspire. Settling is a slow death. It robs you of joy, passion, and possibility. Rising breathes life into everything you do. It lifts others just by your presence. It invites greatness in others by the example you set. Your rise isn't just for you, it's for every person who will be impacted by the courage you embody. Every person who sees you and thinks, if they can do it, maybe I can too. You were never meant to live a quiet life of quiet desperation. You were meant to shake the ground with your energy, your vision, and your relentless pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Decisions, not conditions, shape your destiny. That's the truth that separates the ones who lead from the ones who follow, the ones who build from the ones who watch, the ones who live fully from the ones who simply exist. Every single day, you are faced with choices, some small, some massive, but all of them create momentum in one direction or another. And the quality of your life is not determined by what happens to you. It's determined by how you choose to respond to what happens. It's not about the cards you've been dealt, it's how you play them. Some people are handed pain and they turn it into purpose. Others are handed privilege and they squander it. It's not the condition, it's the decision. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can absolutely control what happens within you. You decide whether adversity becomes your fuel or your excuse. You decide whether heartbreak becomes your prison or your breakthrough. The moment you own your decisions, you reclaim your power. Until then, you're just reacting to life like a puppet on strings, waiting for something or someone to fix things for you. But no one's coming. And that's not bad news. It's the best news ever. Because it means you don't have to wait. You don't have to hope someone else sees your value, gives you a shot, or changes the game for you. You are the game. You get to decide what the next chapter looks like. You get to decide what kind of person you want to be when things fall apart. You get to decide how much energy you bring into every room. That decision right there is what transforms your entire life. Conditions are external. They're the economy, the weather, the opinions of others, the circumstances you were born into. They change, they fluctuate. Sometimes they favor you, sometimes they don't. If you build your identity around your conditions, your confidence will always be fragile. You'll always be waiting for the right time, the right people, the right opportunity. But the people who create massive impact don't wait for the right conditions. They decide to show up no matter what. They decide that their mindset will be stronger than their circumstances. They decide that pain will be their teacher, not their jailer. And that decision, firm, non-negotiable, is what makes all the difference. Most people don't make decisions, they make preferences. They say things like, I'd like to be successful, or I want to be happier, or it'd be nice to have more confidence. But a real decision cuts off all other options. It's not a wish, it's not a hope, it's a commitment. It's when you say, this is how it's going to be, and then you act like it's already done. That energy, that certainty. It doesn't come from the outside. It's born inside you the moment you decide to stop negotiating with your limitations. Think about any major shift in your life. It didn't come from a condition changing. It came from a moment of clarity, of hunger, of truth, where you made a real decision. Maybe it was the moment you said enough is enough. Maybe it was the moment you realized you weren't going to keep living the same story. Maybe it was the moment you stopped chasing approval and started honoring your own voice. That wasn't an accident. That was power. That was you stepping into your authority, whether you realized it or not. So many people live in reaction. They let conditions dictate their effort, their attitude, even their identity. If things go well, they're up. If things go wrong, they're down. That's not living, that's surviving. That's letting life happen to you instead of creating life through you. And the truth is, the most important decisions you make are the ones you make when it's hard, when it's dark, when you feel like giving up. That's when character is forged. That's when direction shifts. That's when destinies are born. You can't control the storm, but you can absolutely control how you show up in it. And the moment you decide to be bigger than your environment, you become unstoppable. The difference between two people with the same background, same resources, same struggles, one thrives, the other collapses. Why? Decisions. One decided to grow from it, the other decided to be defined by it. One decided to lean into discomfort, the other decided to avoid it. One decided that excuses were no longer welcome, the other kept feeding the same story. It's not luck, it's not fate, it's not magic. It's the compound effect of choices made daily, hourly, moment by moment. And the beautiful thing is, every new second is a new chance to decide differently. You don't have to wait until next year. You don't have to wait until the timing is right. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a myth. Clarity is a result, not a prerequisite. Action creates clarity. Decision creates movement. You grow stronger with every choice that reflects your highest standard, not your current condition. You become the person who deserves the life you want by making the decisions that version of you would make now, not someday. There is a version of you that already exists in the future, stronger, wiser, more fulfilled. That version didn't get there by accident. That version was born from repeated decisions to rise, to stretch, to step forward even when fear screamed stop. And that version of you is waiting on the other side of one powerful choice. You don't need to know every step. You just need to make the next decision with absolute intention. The direction of your life hinges not on what's happened to you, but on what you choose to do next. When you own your power to decide, you become free. You stop outsourcing your destiny. You stop waiting for permission. You stop needing things to be perfect before you act. Because deep down you understand that perfection is the enemy of progress and hesitation is the silent killer of dreams. There is nothing more powerful than a mind made up, a spirit locked in, a person who has decided they will not be moved by fear, failure, or rejection. When you live like that, you become a force, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Your decisions become a ripple effect. You inspire others not by your words, but by your energy. You show them what's possible when someone decides to take full ownership of their life. Everything changes when you stop reacting to your environment and start creating it. Your standards rise, your circle shifts, your habits evolve, your life reflects your leadership, and leadership begins with the decision to stop waiting and start becoming. You already have everything you need inside you, the strength, the clarity, the fire. But nothing changes until you decide to use it. Conditions will come and go, but your decisions. That's what shapes the story. That's what builds the life. That's what creates the legacy. The giant within you is awakened by action, not intention. Everyone has dreams. Everyone has ideas. Everyone says they want more out of life, more meaning, more fulfillment, more success. But very few people back those desires with real, consistent, relentless action. It's easy to talk about what you want. It's easy to post about your goals, to journal about your vision, to imagine your future self living in abundance and freedom. But none of that means anything until you move, until you act, until you do the uncomfortable thing over and over again, even when no one is watching, even when results don't show up right away, even when every excuse in the world tries to pull you off course. Intention is the starting line, but action is the finish line. People confuse wanting something with doing what it takes to get it. Wanting isn't enough. Wishing isn't enough. Knowing isn't enough. There are brilliant people stuck in lives they hate because they haven't turned their knowledge into motion. There are people with all the potential in the world who never rise because they're still waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect version of themselves to show up. But the giant inside you, the part of you that's powerful, resilient, courageous, it only wakes up when you engage with life. When you stop talking and start building. When you stop thinking and start risking. When you stop stalling and start showing up like you mean it. You can't think your way into greatness. You can't wish your way into power. You have to live your way there. You have to take the first step, and then the second, and then the 100th, even when you're unsure, even when you're tired, even when you're afraid. Because action builds belief. Action changes your identity. Every time you do the thing you didn't feel ready for, you expand. Every time you follow through on your word, your confidence grows. Every time you do the hard thing, the giant inside you grows louder. That's how you shift from hoping to knowing, from doubting to owning, from being the person who talks about it to being the one who makes it happen. The world doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your behavior. If you want a different life, you need to create different patterns. You don't get in shape by reading about fitness. You don't build a business by dreaming about success. You don't develop unshakable self-worth by repeating affirmations while your actions say otherwise. Real transformation happens when your behavior aligns with your vision. And that alignment only comes through repetition, through discipline, through the daily decision to act like the person you are becoming, not the person you've been. People wait to feel motivated before they take action. They think they need to feel ready, feel inspired, feel clear. But feelings are fleeting. Discipline is what builds empires. The truth is, you won't feel like it most days. You won't feel ready to put yourself out there. You won't feel excited to make the tough call, have the hard conversation, or show up when you're discouraged. But feelings don't create outcomes. Decisions do, habits do, discipline does. And when you act in alignment with your vision, even when it's hard, you start training your nervous system to trust you. You stop being ruled by impulse and start being led by purpose. That's how the giant within you takes over. There is no substitute for doing the work. There is no shortcut to becoming who you're meant to be. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. And the more you walk that bridge, the stronger you get. At first it's shaky, at first it's slow, you'll stumble, you'll doubt yourself, you'll feel like nothing is changing. But each step is a vote for your future. Each step rewires your identity. Each step sends a message to the universe. I'm serious. I'm ready. I'm here to rise. The results may not come immediately, but the transformation starts instantly. The giant inside of you is not awakened by comfort. It's awakened by challenge. It shows up when you stretch. It shows up when you push beyond what you thought you were capable of. It shows up when you decide that your excuses are no longer welcome in your life. That kind of energy doesn't come from convenience. It comes from commitment, from grit, from doing what you said you would do long after the mood you said it in has passed. That's how you build momentum. That's how you build a new standard. That's how you become unstoppable. Not by thinking about it, but by proving it to yourself through action. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most talented. You just have to be the one who shows up every single day with relentless consistency. The one who outworks their fear. The one who embraces discomfort like it's a friend because you understand that discomfort is where the growth happens. Action isn't just about achievement, it's about alignment. When your actions reflect your highest self, your whole life starts to shift. You start attracting new people, new energy, new opportunities, not because of luck, but because you become the kind of person who draws those things in through how you move, how you speak, and how you live.
The most powerful people you know, the ones who inspire, the ones who create, the ones who lead, they didn't get there by accident. They got there by acting in the face of fear, by choosing courage over comfort, by deciding every single day that they were done waiting for life to hand them something and instead would create their own destiny. And that energy, that mindset, it's available to you too, but you'll never find it in your head. You'll find it in motion, in the reps, in the risks, in the moments you show up and give more than you thought you had. That's where the giant wakes up. You don't need more time, you need more action. You don't need more approval, you need more courage. You don't need more clarity, you need more movement. Because clarity comes from engagement, not from sitting on the sidelines waiting for the fog to lift. You can think for days and still be stuck. But the moment you act decisively, courageously, intentionally, everything changes. You begin to rewrite your story, not with words, but with behavior. You become the kind of person who trusts themselves, who follows through, who doesn't need to be pushed because they are pulled by something greater than comfort. Vision, purpose, meaning.
The world is not changed by people who intended to do something great. It's changed by people who dared to do something now. You don't need the full picture. You don't need to see every step. You just need to move, to act, to do the next thing, that next call, that next workout, that next conversation, that next uncomfortable choice that leads to growth. That's how the giant inside of you gets stronger. Not with noise, but with action that speaks louder than any words ever could.
Your standards shape your reality. They are the invisible force that governs your decisions, your habits, your relationships, your income, your health, your confidence. Most people think that their life is a result of external circumstances, but what truly defines your life is what you consistently tolerate. If you tolerate being tired every day, you'll always find yourself exhausted. If you tolerate being disrespected, you'll constantly find yourself surrounded by people who don't value you. If you tolerate mediocrity, that's exactly what you'll get. But the moment you raise your standards, everything begins to shift because your actions start aligning with a new level of self-respect, a new level of non-negotiable expectations. Raising your standards isn't about setting lofty goals you hope to reach one day. It's about refusing to live below what you know you're capable of now. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I will no longer accept. That shift in identity is where true transformation begins, because when your identity expands, your behavior follows. People try to change their actions without changing their standards. And that's why they relapse. That's why they burn out. That's why their growth doesn't last. But when you decide deeply and emotionally that something is no longer acceptable in your life, your whole nervous system gets the message. You operate differently. You show up differently. There's a massive difference between a preference and a standard. A preference is what you'd like to have: a better body, a thriving business, a loving relationship. But a standard is what you are absolutely committed to having. It's not a desire, it's a must. And when something becomes a must, you find a way. You tap into creativity you didn't know you had. You become resourceful. You ask better questions. You stretch beyond your current limitations because settling is no longer an option. That's what raising your standards does. It activates the part of you that refuses to settle for less than you deserve, less than you're capable of, less than what lights you up on a soul level. Your standards are expressed not in what you say, but in what you do. They're written in your morning routine, your daily habits, the people you keep around, the way you handle pressure, the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. If your standard is excellence, you won't allow yourself to sleepwalk through the day. If your standard is integrity, you won't tolerate breaking promises to yourself. If your standard is growth, you won't stay in environments that keep you stagnant. Every choice you make is a vote for the standard you're willing to live by. And the beautiful thing is, you can raise that standard anytime you decide to. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for a new year, a new job, a new relationship. You just need to decide with full conviction that you're done living below your potential. Raising your standards can be uncomfortable because it requires you to leave behind the version of you that's attached to the old identity. It requires you to face your excuses, your patterns, your comfort zones. It means stepping into a space where your current habits are no longer enough. And that tension you feel, that resistance, that's the friction of growth. That's your old self dying and your true self emerging. And that's why most people never do it, because it's easier to stay consistent with who you've been than to challenge yourself to become someone new. But if you want to awaken the giant within, you have to outgrow your old standards. You have to be willing to disappoint your past to honor your future. People often say they're stuck, but more often than not, they're not stuck. They're just too loyal to their current standards. They're too loyal to the story that says this is just how I am, or it's always been this way, or I can't help it. But those are lies told by comfort. Those are chains disguised as personality traits. The truth is, you can change, you can grow, you can elevate your life in ways that would shock you if you're willing to raise what you demand of yourself. Not once, not when it's convenient, but every single day, especially when it's hard. Look at any area of your life that isn't where you want it to be, and you'll find a standard that's too low. If your health is off track, somewhere along the way you decided that skipping workouts or eating poorly was acceptable. If your finances are in chaos, at some level you decided that lack of clarity, planning, or discipline was okay. If your relationships are draining you, you likely tolerated behavior that violates your values. But the moment you say no more, the moment you commit to a higher standard, the moment you declare a new normal, that's when you take your power back. That's when change becomes inevitable. Your standards create your emotional home. If your standard is stress, you'll always find a reason to be overwhelmed. If your standard is joy, you'll find it in the smallest moments. It's not about what happens, it's about what you expect from yourself and your life. The difference between thriving and surviving isn't found in external conditions. It's found in the internal thermostat you've set for your life. And you'll always return to that setting unless you consciously raise it and reinforce it with your actions, your mindset, your environment. The fastest way to shift your life is to raise your standards and refuse to negotiate with them. The moment you start treating your vision like a non-negotiable, the universe responds. People will treat you based on the energy you bring, the boundaries you set, and the standards you uphold. If you want different results, you need to operate from a different standard. That doesn't mean being perfect. It means being committed. It means being consistent. It means being the kind of person who honors their word, not just to others, but to themselves. High standards don't make life harder. They make life clearer. You no longer waste energy on what doesn't serve you. You no longer tolerate drama, distractions, or half effort. You move with purpose. You surround yourself with people who inspire you to rise. You become magnetic, not because you're chasing anything, but because you've become aligned with who you really are. And that alignment, that integrity between who you are and how you live, is the source of power, peace, and fulfillment. Raising your standards is the ultimate act of self-respect. It says, I matter enough to give my best. I value myself enough to demand more. I believe in my potential enough to rise above my past. And that kind of belief, that level of identity shift, is what transforms lives. Not just yours, but everyone who witnesses your example, because when you raise your standards, you give others permission to do the same. You raise the frequency of every room you walk into. You become a catalyst for change simply by being the embodiment of what's possible when someone refuses to settle for anything less than their truth.